Evaluating primary and secondary sources in sports psychology. Primary sources is made up of like two root words, primary and source. We're also going to be talking about secondary sources, again, two root words, secondary and source. This is the content vocab for this lesson. But what you may be asking, why is it important to understand the difference between primary and secondary sources? So what are sources? Well, sources are materials which provide a writer with information. There are only two types of sources, primary or secondary. And sources can either be in print or not in print, meaning they can be digital or they can be spoken sources, like an interview with someone. Primary sources mainly consist of historical documents, written accounts by first-hand witnesses, or objects that have survived from the past. Various examples include letters, personal papers, diaries, maps, photos, clothing, artifacts, and even government documents. Secondary sources, on the other hand, are pieces of evidence that's one step removed from the original or primary source. It's usually based on the primary source, though. Various examples include reviews, discussions, biographies, class textbooks, articles in newspapers and magazines, movies, and even articles in scholarly journals, which we'll be focusing on with our research essays. When looking at how to analyze a source, we have to ask ourselves some questions. Number one, who created the source and why? Did the recorder have firsthand knowledge of the event, or did they report what others saw or heard? Was the recorder a neutral party, or did the author have opinions or interests that might have influenced what was recorded? Was the recorder trying to persuade others to have a certain point of view? And lastly, did the recorder have reasons to be honest or dishonest? So why using primary sources is important. The image on the left is a photograph of civil rights leader and icon Malcolm X. The image on the right is a photograph of the Hollywood actor Denzel Washington, who played Malcolm X in a Hollywood feature film. And why is using primary sources important? Well, because here's a guy who got a tattoo of the actor Denzel Washington portraying Malcolm X instead of getting a tattoo of the actual Malcolm X. We also have to look about establishing credibility or questioning the credibility of the sources. Like these, many of you have seen supermarket tabloids and magazines that often have fantastical stories that have no truth to them. Further questioning the source credibility, now, admittingly, nobody knows what Jesus Christ looked like. There weren't photographs, and the artistic representations we have of him vary greatly. But I think we could all understand that he likely looked nothing like the image on the right, and maybe more like the image on the left, though he likely wasn't pale skinned or light skinned with blue eyes. So in 2012, an amateur art restorer in a small village of Borja in Spain, she turned her attention to a fresco of Jesus Christ called Behold the Man. Well, this art restorer, Cecilia Jimenez, her attempt to fix the face of Jesus, the original painting done in 1930 by Elias Garcia Martinez, became wholly unrecognizable. This was an attempt by an art restorer to correct the work of a famous painter. Well, you can see for yourself if it worked out well. Before we get into our project for this, let's take a look at how we might rank sources. If you're looking for information on Hurricane Katrina, which devastated the Gulf Coast region of the United States, especially New Orleans, Louisiana, which source would be the most reliable? Uh, Victim blog, a novel about the event, a newspaper report, or an eyewitness account? And also, which one would be the least reliable? If you're writing a report on President Barack Obama, how would you rank these sources from most reliable to least reliable? A recent Time magazine article from 2023, an encyclopedia article dated January 30th, 2005, an article in the supermarket tabloid National Enquirer, or a blog by President Obama's campaign manager. Rank them from most reliable to least reliable. Lastly, let's see if we can rank the following resources from greatest reliability to least reliability for an essay titled War in Iraq. A newspaper article, War in Iraq, by a war correspondent. That's a reporter who's embedded in the country. A tabloid article in the National Enquirer saying what they don't let us know. An internet site on Iraq and the post-war period, or the handwritten journal of a soldier serving in Iraq.